Hey everybody, welcome to the newest episode of Capital Combat. The name says it all. I'm Hakeem
Rob.
and today we're going to preview this weekend's HBO World Championship Boxing, which has Miguel Cotto versus Delvin Rodriguez, and also the World Heavyweight title fight happening over in Germany between Wladimir Klitschko and Alexander Povetkin. We're going to start with Klitschko-Povetkin because, frankly, we don't think this one's going to last too long. Go ahead, Rob.
Alright, so have you ever seen Dr. Iron Fist?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Dr. Iron Fist?
No, he's Dr. Steelhammer.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Steelhammer. His brother is Dr. Iron Fist. Either way, Povetkin's going to sleep. So if you've seen any of the Klitschko fight, you know they have, one, a great jab, two, a powerful right hand that almost never misses its mark.
It changes lives when it lands.
And when it hits, somebody is going down. The only person who was able not to get knocked out by it was David Haye. And
That's because he got pretty good footwork for somebody with a broken toe.
yeah, he had a broken toe. It was like, I don't think I want any of that.
Yeah.
But Wladimir Klitschko to us is going to dominate this fight. One, again, he has probably one of the best jabs of all the heavyweights in boxing right now, and probably in boxing.
He does have the best jab of all heavyweights in boxing.
I mean, this guy gets full extension and full power that you can get from a jab. I mean, he kind of holds it out there. It's never much distance that it has to travel, but when he lands it, you will feel it.
Yeah.
Not only that, but he uses it as a rangefinder. So even if he doesn't hit you, he's either going to turn over into a hook, or this is coming right after it.
And you don't want that to come after it.
And he's been so dominant in fights that he's won rounds just by his jab. I have seen him in a few fights for the first few rounds not throw his right hand. Jab, jab, hook, and that's all he's done. And even those have affected his opponents. So for this fight, I think he's going to come out and make a point, an exclamation point, a big one.
Yeah, and that's what he's been doing in his last few fights. As Rob said, I remember it was Ray Austin. He fought Ray Austin and never threw a right hand and knocked him out in the second round. That was impressive in itself. But it drove his former trainer, Emanuel Stewart, bananas. I mean, Stewart would be like, come on, man, finish this guy. He is not in your league. Get him out of here. And Klitschko just wouldn't do it. But something happened when Emanuel Stewart got sick and passed away, rest in peace. I think it finally clicked in Wladimir that, like, hey, I need to get these guys out of here, and I need to get them out of here as fast as possible. In his last 3 or 4 fights since that has happened, it has been very, very violent and very ugly for his opponents. I mean, he's coming out there from round 1, letting that right hand go. And like we said, when it lands, it changes lives. I mean, I remember when he fought Chris Bird, I think this was back in like 2006. Every single time he landed that right hand, Chris Bird would completely stop in his tracks, look, I don't know where he was looking. I mean, he went into like another dimension. And it was very scary. I mean, he knocked out Calvin Brock in Madison Square Garden, left him in a heap of big gelatinous blob on the canvas. Eddie Chambers, same thing. Tony Thompson, he knocked him out twice. The first time he even fell in a sleeping position like this on the canvas. And for Povetkin, this fight has been brewing for almost, I want to say at least 4 or 5 years. Povetkin has had this title and has been trying to get this fight solidified. He'd be pulling out for various reasons. One of the main reasons was his trainer at that time, Teddy Atlas, felt he wasn't ready for the fight.
Which was true.
It was very true. And he wanted to get Povetkin ready for that fight. Unfortunately, there was some miscommunications in their camp, and Teddy Atlas ended up leaving. Povetkin ended up fighting a guy by the name of Marco Hupp, who is a cruiserweight who moved up to heavyweight for the opportunity. And a lot of people felt he beat Povetkin and then went back down to cruiserweight and won some more fights. So, with that said, I've seen Marco Hupp fight. You can look him up. Didn't he beat Roy Jones as well?
No, but he has beaten other notable cruiserweights.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm thinking of what's his name?
Dennis Lebedev.
Lebedev. Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. But Povetkin also had a fight with Eddie Chambers that it seemed like Eddie Chambers just kind of stopped fighting. Mm-hmm. And he was outboxing him handily, and then he just decided he didn't care anymore, and Povetkin just kept working and won the fight. But Povetkin is very short. I believe he's
about 6'1", which is short for a heavyweight.
Yeah. Rob, as you see, is 6'4".
Mm-hmm.
I'm 5'11", so Povetkin's probably about here. Wladimir Klitschko is 6'7".
Which is about 3 inches taller than I am.
And he is about 250 pounds of solid muscle, which is why we don't think this fight's going to be too competitive. One, Alexander Povetkin hasn't really shown any improvement since those fights that we mentioned, and these fights were back in the late 2000s, like the 07, 08, 09s. The fight with Huck was recently, like sometime last year, and he's just not showing that progression that he needs to show to get through a defense and an offense like Klitschko's. I mean, that jab, as Rob said, is very dangerous. That right hand is pretty much nuclear, and we're thinking 6 rounds tops. As long as his chin can hold up is how long he's going to stay up. Because Wladimir Klitschko is just going to unload on him until he falls. Because he wants to prove that he is the man. And Povetkin is pretty much the last guy standing of the heavyweights that either Wladimir or Vitaly have not destroyed. So he wants to make that statement that him and his brother are the best around. And he will make that statement emphatically.
Let me say it like this. Povetkin, his biggest problem, as a problem with a lot of heavyweights, is conditioning. Which, for me, if I'm going to fight someone who looks like Wladimir Klitschko, I'm going to be in the best possible shape, period. Povetkin was making strides with Teddy Atlas. Teddy Atlas actually did not train any fighters for quite a long time until Povetkin's team came to him. And Atlas had certain contractual agreements that he needed met because he is an analyst for ESPN Friday Night Fights. So because of those contractual agreements, he has to spend half the year in America, and he can spend half the year overseas in Germany, in Russia, I'm sorry, training. And Povetkin agreed to that for about 2 years. And then things went sour because he didn't want to leave Russia for those 6 months. Not the best thing, because when he went up to fight Marco Hupp, who was at least 25 pounds smaller than Povetkin, and Povetkin took some shots, which means his defense actually got worse. That is not a good thing when you're fighting Klitschko. You want to have movement, and you want to be able to slip punches. He's going to have to slip to the outside of Klitschko's jab to even be effective. That's not going to happen. He doesn't have the footwork and he doesn't have the conditioning to do it.
Yeah, Klitschko will, if you do happen to get past his jab, he has no qualms about grabbing you and putting his weight on you, so you have to fight him off of you, which is going to make you tired again, because this man is 6'7" and 250 pounds of muscle. He is very dense and very heavy, and to have that weight laying on you, grabbing you, squeezing you, and you having to fight that off is a fight in itself. So you have to fight to get in. Once you get in, he's going to tie you up, and then if you do happen to slip a couple punches, sometimes you're not going to slip all of them, so you're going to have to eat punches, slip punches, get in, and then fight him off of you in order to land your own punches. This is completely it's not even an uphill battle. This is an up mountain battle for Povetkin, and we don't think he's going to scale this mountain.
You heard it here first. Early knockout. Povetkin's going down.
No more than 6 rounds. So with that being said, let's move on to Miguel Cotto versus Edwin Rodriguez. No, it's Delvin Rodriguez.
Delvin Rodriguez.
I'm sorry. Edwin Rodriguez is fighting Andre Ward. So many Rodriguezes. Sorry to people named Rodriguez. Anyway, for this fight, Miguel Cotto has tabbed Freddie Roach as his newest trainer. And Delvin Rodriguez has been a 154-pound stalwart for a very long time. I believe his last fight that he lost was against Austin Trout. That's the only fight he did lose, and I think that was early last year. So he is a very capable fighter. I don't think he's on the level that Cotto used to be, but because Cotto is not the fighter that he used to be either, this is going to be a little bit more competitive than a lot of people are expecting. I'm going to have Rob break down why we feel that way.
Okay, so I'm going to start off with Rodriguez. Rodriguez is like you said, a veteran and a capable fighter. He beats who he has to be or he should be, but when he takes that step into competition, it doesn't work out for him. He's fought really good fighters, but he just doesn't have that little extra winning edge or attribute that gets him over that hump to be a champion. Now, in fighting Cotto, Cotto doesn't seem to have that thirst for actual combat like he used to when he was rising through the ranks and he became a 140, 147 pound champion. Those beatings that he took from Antonio Margarito and Manny Pacquiao and
Antonio Margarito again.
If you've seen that fight, he was coming on late in the rounds. Then he fought Mayweather and Austin Trout. I mean, he has been beat, and even since that first Margarito fight, it just seems like he is unable to really engage like we know he can. The last time he showed that was against Mayweather, and Mayweather decided to stand toe-to-toe with Cotto.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a close fight. If Cotto can dig deep and find that jab that he has and compress the action and kind of go on the offensive, which Freddie Roach is actually known for training fighters, he can win. But he has problems with conditioning, which he gets tired later on in fights, which could work in Rodriguez's favor.
Because he does come in shape, if anything else.
And because Rodriguez is naturally bigger, he may be able to crowd and muscle Cotto.
Yeah, he's a lot bigger than Cotto. Cotto's only like 5'7". I think Rodriguez might be pushing 6 feet. And then being a natural 154-pounder, being there his whole career, and Cotto coming up from 140, there is going to be a large size difference between the two guys come fight night.
Rodriguez should come into the bout about 161, 162 at the very lightest on fight night. Miguel Cotto, who is not a small guy for 147, he's small for 154, so he may put on a few pounds. I'd be surprised if he puts on more than 2 or 3 pounds come fight night.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be more than 160. But if all things work out right, if Cotto still has the accuracy, the combination punching, and even a small bit of the power that he had coming up and even showed in his later fights, he should get a very hard fought unanimous decision around the scores of 115, 113, 116, 112. It's going to be a clear win, but one that he's going to have to fight harder for than expected.
And this is my only beef with it, because he's signed to Freddie, well, not signed to Freddie Roach, but because he's being trained by Freddie Roach, who is an offensive-minded coach, the defense may suffer, because if you watch any Freddie Roach trained fighters, that has been their biggest issue. The only one who showed any semblance of defense is Manny Pacquiao, and that was mediocre, slightly above mediocre at best. Then you had Amir Khan, who has been knocked out, Jorge Linares, who has been knocked out, if I'm not mistaken, twice in fights he was winning when he was training under Freddie Roach.
Yeah, the conditioning and the defense are the trade-offs that you get for the spectacular offensive firepower that he teaches you. Like, he teaches great combinations, he teaches great angles, and he teaches how to throw at the right time. He teaches good timing and accuracy. But like Rob said, the defense isn't there, and that's why this fight is going to be a little bit closer. That and the size of Rodriguez. So it's going to be a very good fight. We suggest you tune in and check it out, because we might get an upset. Rodriguez might pull it out. We don't think he is, but it is highly possible with all those factors that we just discussed.
And the implications of the winner of the fight will probably be the next opponent to Saul Alvarez.
Yeah, neither one of these guys. Well, Cotto might be a little more tied to Top Rank than we know at the moment. Right now, they're saying it's on a fight-to-fight basis. Delvin Rodriguez is, I'm not sure who he's promoted by, but I know he's not promoted by Top Rank because he fought Austin Trout last year, who's with Golden Boy. And, you know, they don't work together at all. So if they win, that's a good opponent they have, Canelo Alvarez. That would be the lottery ticket for that division. They could get Vanis Martirosyan, who's about to fight Demetrius Andrade, and they're fighting for a belt. That would probably be the easiest fight for either one of them to take and get a belt. They could get Carlos Molina, who has a belt. Lara and Gulo. It's a very stacked division, and whoever wins this fight will be a player again.
But the thing about it, if Cotto wins, who, if you ask me, that's who the promoters want to win, because he brings a large Puerto Rican crowd to all of his fights in New York and, of course, in Florida. So that's probably who they're looking, and whoever wins, there's a possibility that's either in Vegas or during the in New York in the Barclays. That's just what I'm suspecting. So look out, the winner of the fight is going to take that step up. The loser's going to go back to the drawing board as usual.
Yeah, and that's all we got for you guys today. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for taking the time to sit here and listen to us rant a little bit. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you share it with your friends and subscribe. I'm going to put a link down here so you guys can click on it and subscribe automatically. And if you don't, I'm going to send Rob to your house. Peace.
This is round one and you've already lost. They don't seem to see that everything we've done is coming and cost. My fists are on fire, I perform till I perspire. My demons are in a rage, keep thinking that it's a game. I kick crime, hurricane, I told them I don't play, I'm liquid.
Black Street Fighters.